Hey guys, so I want to talk to you today about respecting the dojo. The other day I was in class and I publicly disagreed with my sensei, and after the class I was speaking to another student, another instructor. It was an instructor class, and he said I was feeling the same kind of things that you did. I'm glad you said something, because as the senior student in the class, it falls to you to do it. And I've heard lots of times where students or senseis have disputes with their seniors over any number of things, and they feel unable to discuss them because there's such a structure of etiquette and respect that it's just not done to speak to their instructors. And I feel that this is a tremendously destructive environment, because what happens is, and you see it all the time from the smallest class, from ordinary students, kids, or even adults in your class, right up to the highest level with the masters. What happens is that students become dissatisfied, and rather than feeling that it's an environment in which they can speak to their instructor, they just simply leave training. And it's a lose-lose situation, because the student leaves unhappy and quite often never continues their martial arts journey, and the instructor loses a student who could have gone on to be a valuable student. All students are valuable to me, but some students take it further than others, and you never know their potential early on, or at any time, that they could go on to be just unbelievable. So I really wanted to examine this whole thing about dojo respect. Inevitably, in an art where there's a lot of testosterone, karate is still primarily a male art, there are going to be egos involved. And I have to say, I've never been more disappointed than when I discover that the higher you go up the structure, the more fragile and the more monstrous egos become. Patrick McCarthy once said something like, the more grain there is on the ear of corn, the more it needs to bend to support the weight. Obviously the implication there was that the more dangerous you become, the more knowledge you carry, the more humble you need to be with it, because it becomes obnoxious. And unfortunately, this most certainly seems not to be the case. I know very few really high-graded martial artists who I believe really live up to that, and I think that's a tremendous disappointment. And I have to be honest, I also have experienced that same feeling where you reach a point, and if somebody questions you, you kind of think, well, who are you to be questioning me? You're just a beginner, and I always feel that you have to put that voice of arrogance to the back of your mind quickly. Don't let it get started. But to go back to the whole subject of respect in the dojo, I think that respect is not demanded, it's earned. And what we have mostly in the dojo, at least in the early days, is etiquette and courtesy. Now, courtesy is the pretense of respect. It's saying good morning to somebody that you don't really care if they live or die. It's asking how people are doing when you don't really care about the answer. It's just the grease that oils the wheels of society, I guess you could say. And etiquette is very closely connected to that. Etiquette is almost like a system of rules that society follows, particularly in the dojo. There's lots and lots of etiquette. Rules such as bowing and even the uniforms you wear and what you call each other and acknowledgements and things like that. And I think there's a good reason for having a strong scaffold of etiquette, and that's because it's a martial art, and it's very easy to let egos get a hold, and then people get angry, and it could lead to violence. And I've actually been in a dojo on a couple of occasions actually, where two males were sparring, and one of them accidentally hit the other, and the first one lost his temper, and it became a full-on fight. And that's why we have things like, you know, if one of you hits the other, then you immediately stop and bow and apologise, or, you know, some symbol of respect. I think in Shotokan you might say us or something like that, or a head nod. And I can see the value of things like that. And if you look at the history of bowing, which was formulated during the Muromachi period of Japan, which was really was the second major period of the samurai, running from 1392 to 1573. This was when bowing was formalised, and it wasn't formalised because people suddenly started feeling polite. It was formalised because samurai egos were on such a knife edge that they could just go crazy and just kill each other for the smallest little slight. And if you recall the movie Kill Bill, the story of Pai Mai, or Pai Mei I think his name was, the old priest, which is told by David Carradine's character, Bill, and he tells the story to the bride, in which the priest Pai Mei, the martial arts expert Pai Mei, meets the priest, and the priest, the martial artist, nods his head to acknowledge the priest, and the priest doesn't nod back, and Pai Mei is so incensed that he goes to the priest's monastery and slaughters them all. And that is a kind of example of egos out of control, you know, where people feel that they're so deadly that they deserve extra respect simply because they're deadly. And like I say, you know, respect is not demanded, it's earned. And you know, yeah, that to me is an example of what happens when people's egos get out of control. And we've all seen the character, the leader of the what were they, the dragons or something, in Karate Kid, you know, kind of strutting around with his chest puffed out, and all he wants is victory at all costs. And again, that's another example of a martial arts ego out of control. So it seems to me that there should not really be a culture where people are afraid to speak to their instructors, or even afraid to dissent with their instructors, which unfortunately this culture does exist. You know, in the Japanese dojos, unfortunately, we've kind of confused two things. We've confused etiquette with discipline, self-discipline. For example, if you're in a line, you're expected to stand in a strong haikadachi or yoi or whatever whilst your instructor speaks, which is a discipline. It's a discipline to make you stronger, just to develop your spirit, I guess you could say. But then if you don't do that, it's not for your instructor to go crazy and beat you with sticks or berate you in front of the other students or whatever, because you know, that's not his role, and that's not how respect is earned. And I'm reminded of a story in Dave Lowry's book Out of the Dojo, in which he talks about etiquette and the rituals of the dojo, and he points out that in the early martial families, that they all trained together, and even the highest deadly killer in the dojo, or in the family unit, or the clan or whatever, had a vested interest in ensuring the strength of the weakest, because the unit was only as strong as the weakest link. You know, if you were in a battle and you know, your little brother or your new member of your clan is unable to fight, then that's a vulnerability for all of you, because he might be protecting your back. You know, just like the hoplite phalanxes where their spears kind of have to face out and protect the person next to them, so you get this team cohesiveness. You can see there that having a massive ego just because you're more deadly wouldn't be any good to you. You have to be a seamless part of the team. And likewise, you know, to be a sensei, again, I think it was Dave Lowry who talked about it, but it may have been somebody else. But to be a sensei is an important role. It's a role of both of respect, but also of obligation to your students. And when I see senseis who are unapproachable and senseis whose egos get bruised very easily, or worse still, who just keep their students at a massive distance, I just think that they really don't get it. And the big problem is that a lot of our ritual has come down from Japanese or Okinawan culture, and you need to understand that that the culture on which it's based, not only is it very alien to European culture, but it's not an improvement. You know, we often look at the discipline or the honour, the Budo spirit of people like the samurai, and think, wow, that was so marvellous. You know, we should all aspire to that Budo spirit. But the fact is that the samurai weren't all these wonderful, honourable people. Many of them were mercenaries, many of them were bloodthirsty, and in fact, a lot of the greater virtues that developed with the samurai, such as you know, poetry and tea ceremonies and things like that, it evolved out of the need to give them something else to do because they were actually, when they were not occupied, they were so dangerous. And if you look at the shogun Lord Tokugawa, who lived in the 17th century, he took over, he kind of ousted the Emperor of Japan, and it was a period during which a massive amount of rules and kind of false etiquette, if you like, was introduced, and everything was prescribed for you by the government as a way to control people. And this was a period where allegedly even the gifts that you could buy for your children on their birthdays was dictated to you. Now add to that the fact that the Japanese, and probably the Chinese as well actually, both have been very class-based societies, and even now the Japanese are still very much believe in a social structure and social duty, and this kind of I don't know, this obedience to state and obedience to the hierarchy, you know, this levels kind of thing. And you know, whilst I think it's good to acknowledge your seniors, I guess, you know, that's part of the Japanese thing, you know, the whole sensei thing is a teacher or you know, senior, someone who's gone before. It's good to show respect to your elders and those who have more experience. It's not good to be so tied up in the ritual just for its own sake that you're terrified to express yourself. So you know, I believe that everybody at every level of the organisation of a martial arts organisation, or of a martial arts hierarchy, or a martial arts style, should be completely approachable. And I believe it's the duty of martial artists, the higher they get, the more deadly they become, to keep their egos in check, and in fact even to suppress their egos. You know, I guess with deadly competence comes a certain confidence, arrogance even, more often than not. And I really don't see this as a very beneficial thing at all. And so, you know, we should endeavour as much as possible to suppress our egos so that we can be approachable to others, and so that we don't become you know, just I don't know, kind of strutting peacocks just because we have a bit of skill. Take care, guys.